Fellas, I've got some terrible news. We covered this yesterday. TonicGate. Turns out it's real. We've identified an issue where Tomb of Elders tonics are not increasing chances for specific weapons as expected. We'll share a target fix date once the proposed fix is tested and verified. Now, I'm not sure when that fix is going to be. It could be, I mean, with it being the holidays right now and stuff like that, it literally could be next year. You know, I mean, 2025. Hopefully not. Hopefully they fix it whenever the Dawning drops, which is literally next week. For those not familiar with what's going on with the Tonic system, essentially what it is instead of you going here to your Tonic capsule and slotting in, say you want to farm a certain weapon, say you want to farm Grid Skipper or something like that. Instead of you getting Grid Skipper, you would get another weapon instead. And so it would be like some weird thing, like, I'm just going to use this as a rough example. You focus Exuvier, which is the hand cannon, but it spits you out the sidearm. That's just a rough example. Again, it seems to be more affecting Tomb of Elders instead of onslaught weapons. But the point is, it's like, obviously when you slot in something that you're trying to focus on as a drop, you should be getting that as a drop. And this is on top of the weight gated issues that have hit us this past season. This has been a buggy season, man. When was the last time we had a season this buggy? I think this actually I mean, some people are going to say the crafting season was buggy, but keep in mind, that was like one major bug. Everything else for the most part was pretty good. In terms of just like so many pop-up bugs here, man, this one seems like the buggiest season ever. Lightfall was super buggy. Yeah, there were definitely some things that were breaking in Lightfall for sure. This has just been a weird season because of, I would say, weight gate was a big issue because that kind of like erodes the trust and the RNG system. And in a world where weapon crafting is kind of being pulled back a little bit and RNG drops are being pushed forward as like the old means of farming for loot within Destiny, and then to have an issue like weight gate and now an issue like TonicGate, either these are just some crazy bugs that keep popping up, or someone inside internally at Bungie actually is pro weapon crafting and is doing everything they can to sabotage weapon drops and keep us from going back to the old RNG ways. Intentional bug? I don't think that's an intentional bug, guys. Dude, you guys, man, y'all really getting in on it. I'm telling you, man, dude, so many people saying intentional bug right now. A lot of people are like, it's to that's just dumb. Why not have, if you're like, okay, it's an intentional bug to focus one weapon and get another weapon. If anything, if it was an intentional bug, you would just make it to where that one drop would take forever, or just make it where it wouldn't drop often at all. This is a coding issue. It's a coding issue, but it's also just a, look, man, what was one of the departments that got hit the hardest in the layoffs at Bungie? Wasn't it playtesters? Wasn't it in the quality team that got hit the hardest? Correct me if I'm wrong. Quality control. All right, look, you start getting rid of your quality control team. This is the stuff that pops up, right? Right now, we are the quality team. And I know some people would say that's been like that in the past, that we've always been like the beta testers. But again, man, I mean, we've paid attention. Look, ignitions were bugged, perks were bugged. We had the issues of artifact mods not even working. People getting bugged out of quests and can't even like, proceed or go to the next quest. Paul Tassi just put out an article. I'm a sucker for it, man. I gotta read it, dude. I gotta read it. Destiny 2 has lost the trust of its players. Chad, did they lose you? They lost. Wait, they've lost it again? When was the last time any of us had just 100% trust in Destiny? You know, I'll tell you the last time I had complete faith and trust in Bungie. The launch of Destiny 2. The lead up to the launch of Destiny 2, I was like, this is it, baby. This is it. This is when we hit it big on the PC market. This is it, baby. But then we played the beta and I was like, whoa, this is not good. This doesn't feel good. Even with how shitty Destiny 1's PvP sandbox had gotten, we even like QJ and Gamer actually left the D2 beta and went back to Destiny 1 to play trials that weekend. And it was like no radar trials or some shit like that on Cauldron. Anyways, that was when the trust started to erode. Now, I will say after look, here's the thing. It's not that you have complete trust in Bungie or Destiny. You just re-up. You re-up for another year. They do something right, you re-up. Final Shape was that thing. I have given Bungie grace right now because Final Shape was a good expansion. But if we get some shit like Lightfall again, if some Curse of Osiris stuff gets pushed to us, that's where it erodes much harder. All right, let's read this. Destiny 2 has lost the trust of its players from Paul Tassi. I'm sorry, but this has just gotten ridiculous. Late yesterday, after yet again a lot of fan theorizing, Bungie confirmed that at least part of the central mechanic that Destiny 2's entire Revenant episode is based around is not working. These are tonics that are meant to be worked as temporary weapon focusing buffs to target farm weapons that you want. Destiny 2 players have wondered from the start if these have been working right, with the latest theory being that they might even focus a different weapon than what they say, but they might just not be working at all. I'm not even sure if this is saying that the tonics on the Tomb of Elders page don't work right, or all tonics just don't work right in Tomb of Elders. I have a hard time believing any of them work as intended. I will say the boosts do work. So the left side, this side column, guys, I can confirm these work. We tested all these. These are actually work. Cure Divorce, by the way, really, really good. This is the side that's sketchy. The Glimmer tonic works. We've used that a lot. These work as well, right? Sending out shorts, alloys, things. It's when we get into the weapons that things get funky, man. But at this point, it is now impossible to believe that anything in this game works as stated. Destiny 2 has lost the trust of its players with this happening just too many times. The other bigger example of this was Wakegate. The revelation again found by players that certain perk pairings were close to impossible to get due to how perks were arranged in the API. Eventually, Bungie acknowledged this issue, fix it supposedly, and offer some god rolls as compensation. But this was a bug that appears to have been in existence for years. That's potentially hundreds of hours of farming a loot system that was broken at its core. Yeah, that was very shocking. So one of Bungie's engineers came out and talked about Wakegate and why it was such a difficult bug. And essentially what it pointed to was like, we as a community were the ones that had to just pull together tons and tons of drops. And then they simulated the drops. And then they also saw and was able to come up with the same issues that we ran into, where certain roles were just impossible to get. That's led to major problems because this dates back potentially years. Now, the reason why no one really called it out is because we have weapon crafting. I'm telling you, man, there's like a civil war happening within Bungie. You've got one side that's saying, hey, let's go back to RNG drops. And then you got the other side saying, keep weapon crafting. Right now, every time something like this happens, Wakegate, TonicGate, anything like that, all it really points to is that weapon crafting is the way. In a season where this was supposed to get the ball rolling toward RNG drops again. And look, I like RNG drops. I really do, man. Not when it's weighted though. Obviously, that's a big issue. I would say none of us really noticed Wakegate because we had weapon crafting since Witch Queen. We've had it since Witch Queen, so it hasn't really affected us. Oh yeah, he's showing the picture here, Velocity Baton. Yeah. This was part of the Wakegate issue. Speaking of which, I still didn't get the attrition orb roll yet. Really need to do that. Now, the notion after that was that there would be conspiracies lurking around every corner if things were actually working as intended or not. And even if the Tonic issue started out as a theory and sounded a bit paranoid, guess what? It was true. They're broken. So much is broken. My main character, my Warlock, has been unable to brew Tonic since essentially week 1 of the season, almost 8 weeks ago now. I've directly worked with Bungie on getting this bug fixed, and it still isn't, despite their efforts. I have friends where this has happened on their only character, so they've barely engaged with the season at all. Also, yesterday it was announced that a super disabled in the recent dungeon has a mid-January target for a fix. Progress crawls for many of these issues. Talking about Tether right there. That is kind of crazy, dude. That Tether hasn't been fixed yet. So the thing about Tether, it's not that it's like super powerful for the dungeon or anything like that. It's causing like guitar errors or some crap when using it on the second encounter. Now, let me ask, does anyone else run into this issue with their characters being locked out of the quest? We ran into that. Turns out it was like when my inventory was full, I couldn't pick up the quest. I want to say we just made space in our inventory and then we were able to progress the quest, but is there a way in which you can lock yourself out? I ran into it and I did what you did. I can gather reagents. While Destiny has always dealt with bugs, this is untenable. We cannot trust any internal system is not bugged in some way against players. We cannot play new content without some game-breaking bug or another affecting at least some measure of players. Obviously, a big factor here, if not the biggest, is Bungie's layoffs, including a large portion of QA and the undervalued team that catches things like this. I know people on QA and they are still working hard, but these layoffs have badly hurt the game itself. I'm not blaming those that are still there, but the leadership that created the situation in the first place. But the result is the same. We cannot trust this game, these systems. It has given us every reason not to. Look, I know some of you right now are being like, Paul's being dramatic, but dude, this is a problem, man. This is a problem. If there are people that don't, because there are people that just casually play this game, that jump in the beginning of the season, if they're getting soft locked out of a quest on their only playable character and our only solution to them is, hey, go make another character, dude, that's bullshit. This should not be happening, man. You know, some of these things that are slated for mid-January to be fixed is too late. At this point, mid-January means we're going into the 3rd act of this episode. We're practically at the end of the episode. And so it's like, yeah, I'm glad it's getting fixed. But, you know, at this point, why even bother? You know what I mean? Like, Like, this should be something that should have been pushed forward very, very quickly. And I'm not saying that, you know, some things, I'm glad things like the ignition bug got fixed, but there were a host of problems that popped up since the beginning of this episode. And I think a big part of that is because we just don't have as many people on the QA team. And that needs to be something that Bungie invests back into. Mid-January is like a month from the next episode. Yeah, literally a month away from Heresy. And if this keeps up, Heresy is going to be buggy as hell. And look, I'm not saying that this season, it being buggy, isn't detrimental, but the season before big annual expansions, if that one is really messed up, that's going to cause problems, especially if something is like, again, Echoes was good. Revenant's pretty cool. Heresy, though, I mean, we're going back to the Dreadnought. If there's some bullshit that locks us out of doing the quest line to go back to the Dreadnought, and that ends up locking out, even if it's a small portion of the population, even if it's like only 5% of players get soft locked out of the quest, dude, it doesn't matter. If they get soft locked out of a quest line like that for over half the season, that's a ginormous problem if you ever expect them to get into your annual expansion. Bungie doesn't have any money. Bullshit. Bungie's got money, dude. Bungie's got money, guys. Don't think they don't have money. They're cutting where they think they can cut. And here's the thing. I just don't, QA should not be cut. 100 mil from Rising. I tell you what, man, you know, it's going to be very shameful if Destiny Rising has less bugs than Destiny and has more, I mean, look, I don't like mobile games, okay? To me, it almost seems like a nightmare situation where potentially my future as a Destiny player somehow turns into playing Destiny mobile. Oh my God. Please, God, no. But Destiny Rising has so many features that we've always wanted inside of Destiny. From clan housing to shooting range for DPS testing to a card game, man. A card game and sparrow racing. Look, the game is not for me because I don't like mobile games. But at least playing through the alpha, I didn't hardly run into any bugs. And that's a full game launch. That's not even, it's not like a season or anything like that. Granted, it's been in development for a very long time. The point is like, it's going to be shameful if like the overall quality of a mobile game exceeds that of Destiny. If you tolerate the monetization, then sure, I have zero hope it's not going to be predatory. I don't like the monetization. I don't like gacha games. Yeah, I don't like gacha games, man. I'm just talking about the features in the game. It's a shame that it's there and not here. But the point is, you know, here's the thing. I bring it back to you guys. Have you lost trust in Destiny? Nah. The last time I trusted Bungie was in Age of Triumph. They lost me when Destiny 2 undid all the changes they made in Rise of Iron and Age of Triumph. Plus, a friend of mine still works at Bungie, so tend to forgive. But trust, no. So can I tell you what happened with Age of Triumph and Destiny 2? This is the biggest issue in Destiny, or in Bungie, for years. So you would have different teams that would take on expansions, right? And then there would be a loss of communication with what worked and then what actually makes it to the development cycle for the next expansion. And for the longest time, actually, you would have a team, they would hopscotch. So the team that worked on Destiny Vanilla, and then a separate team would work on the Taken King. And then the team that worked on Vanilla would be working on Rise of Iron. Then the team that was working on the Taken King was working on D2 launch. And so they would do this thing where they would just hopscotch each other. That gave people time, or that gave the teams time to cook, you know, being a year or more than a year out from the launch of their most recent expansion. The issue is there was a loss of communication on what actually was resonating with the community and what worked, and then that would not make it into that next expansion. Oh, guys, I'm not making excuses, by the way. I hope y'all know that. What I'm saying is when I talk about this, it's not making an excuse, it's bringing up what went wrong. By the way, it doesn't even matter because the heads of all of those that used to hopscotch, from Mark Noseworthy to Luke Smith to Christopher Barrett, guess what? They're not there. They're not there anymore. So like, it doesn't even matter at this point. That's good, right? I don't know. I don't know if that's good. Maybe, you know, we've heard things about Christopher Barrett and the folks that he worked with. I don't know. I don't know anything outside of what you know. Luke Smith and Mark Noseworthy not being there. That's to me, I thought that was a terrible blow. Luke Smith, you know, we've got our problems with Luke Smith, right? Sunsetting, right? I can't help but wonder what payback would have been like. Part of me wishes we could have just seen it. Just like a little trailer, just a little snip. What have you guys been working on, you know? And when Destiny 3 releases, there needs to be a transfer of collections. God, man. Oh, sweet summer child. How can I tell you? Such terrible, terrible news. That I want a clean slate with D3. Guys, again, I don't think a Destiny 3 is being made. You know, I feel like at this point, I'm turning into like the therapist here in Destiny, where I have to sit down with you and just break the news to you. You know what I mean? D3 isn't being made. We know that doesn't change the fact that matter. It needs to be. Look, man, I'll tell you what, sequels do pull in people. From a number perspective, I would love a Destiny 3. I would love a D3. You know, D2 had its problems, but God, man, there's so many people that picked up Destiny 2 for the first time. My only issue with these these moments, man, where Bungie is like, they do everything right leading up to the moment when they're on the big stage. They got everybody playing their game, and then it's just like something catastrophic happens. Double primaries was one of those, right? Double primaries for D2. Catastrophic, dude. And it's like, dude, that's like the biggest stage you could have possibly had with, you know, coming to PC, having the sequel. So D3 would have to get it right. Then they try to make it an esport game. Just remember, the people that try to make Destiny 2 into an esport game worked at Concord. And look, that's not me hating on Concord. Concord, from a balanced perspective, just like Destiny 2 Vanilla, from a balanced perspective, it was a balanced game. No lie. When you played Concord and you all or played D2 Vanilla with the double primary system, it actually had balance. But dude, it wasn't fun. It wasn't fun. Concord missed, you know, I had a conversation this past weekend talking about Concord, and I still maintain the biggest issue with the game was, and it sounds overly simplified, and I'm not trying to get political about this bullshit. I don't give a damn. My thing with the game was it didn't have any ultimates for the characters, which were those standout moments. When you think of like Overwatch and you know, ultimates from like Reaper, dude, I would like get my ass beat the entire match just so that I can work up to my ultimate, so that I can go in there and just start blasting. You know what I mean? Hanzo with this damn giant ass arrow. Like those were like defining mechanics there for Overwatch that were non-existent in Concord. There were no ultimates in Concord because it was the same people that designed Destiny 2 Vanilla, and the thought process behind ultimates was that it would make the game imbalance. Why should you be rewarded passively for not doing well with your gunplay? You should only be rewarded for your gunplay. And it just didn't make the game fun. Overwatch 1, when it first dropped, was the golden age. It really was. Fun should be the first priority. Fun should be the first priority. It really should.
Slap that like button like your mama told you right.